Wakey, another beautiful day, 24th of May 2024. Let's be up and doing to a purpose. Always to remind you what Benjamin Franklin has said. I trust that you had a lovely restorative night. It is another Friday that everyone is looking forward to ushering in the weekend. Just have a bit of a rest if you will have that handy opportunity as well. Today is Friday. Every Friday you have Uongozi today coming your way, where we take a keen analysis on the leadership of the day. And primarily, of course, we shall be focusing on what is happening with the US tour, where the president has bagged a 1 trillion shilling deal. But what does it portend moving forward for this country as well? We shall be analyzing that, and of course, following keenly what is happening in the Mount Kenya region. The finance bill continue to spur a lot of debate right now that we have Sh1tr, who has moved to the courts to challenge, of course, the finance bill, saying that some propriety procedures was not really followed, or procedure propriety was not keenly followed as far as the National Assembly is concerned with the Appropriation Act. We shall be looking at that and a lot of other issues as well here on Morning Prime. Also up and early is Professor Jonah Kindiki, who is a governance and policy analyst. He's already in studio with me. I shall be serving him tea momentarily. I know sometimes they're waking very early in the morning and they miss the breakfast as well. But I've got my table well laid, and we shall be joined also by Herman Manyora, who's a governance and policy analyst. We shall be joined by Dr. Martin Alo, who's an advocate of the High Court and also head of Department School of Law at Daystar University. And we shall be joined as well by Barak Maluka, who is a strategic communications advisor. And we have a full-packed show. But before we do that, let's see how the weather will be today. The weatherman warns of heavy rains over the weekend. And of course, also we have from IGAD until September, be braced up for heavy rains as well. Let's see how it will be today. right. Let's see what is fresh off the press today. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard today. Ruto bags 1 trillion shillings deals as US seeks influence from the 447 billion shillings highway connecting Mombasa and Nairobi to 900 million shillings for prisons reforms. The president not only strutted on the red carpet, but he also backed deals that could reform institutions and spur the economy. And this is well laid out for you on page 2 and 3 of the Standard today, cementing position in world politics. And you can see him here holding court there with Biden, President of US, and of course, Dr. Jill Biden as well, flanked alongside the First Lady, Rachel Ruto. 447 billion shillings, Ruto signs deal with, that is for Usahihi Nairobi Mombasa Expressway project, Usahihi, I should say. 447 billion shillings. Also 561 million shillings from the United States will be used to enhance anti-corruption initiatives. 924 million shillings to be used for the modernization and professionalization of a national police service. 16, that is Kenya to receive 8 HEOs and 8 MDs, 500 helicopters to bolster regional peace and security. And also we have 198 million shillings will be used to support the country's electoral reforms ahead of the 2027 elections. KDF candidate to start courses at the US Military Academy, the US Naval Academy, and the US Air Force Academy. And you have the rest of the details on page 2 and 3 of the Standard today. On the sidebar, we have Kenyan dying there. Kenyan dies climbing Mount Everest, Sh1tr Kirui, and a Nepali climber died while attempting to reach Mount Everest summit. This is on page 9 of the Standard today. And shock as Treasury axes NCA budget. A crisis is looming after the National Treasury slashed the National Construction Authority's entire budget of 1.3 billion shillings. This is on page 5 of the Standard today. And certain tax policies not healthy. This is what the Standard is holding today on page 19. And Harambee hit with injuries on 29 of the Standard as well. All this story, you can actually get all the gritty details. Also, MP surrender guns in Kangombe shooting probe. That is on page 9 of the Standard. And for the young and young at heart, you have a Pulse magazine that also will give you all the juicy stories on entertainment as far as, of course, the entertainment scene is concerned. Rise of esports is what is inside today's Pulse magazine. The Daily Nation is holding this splash for you today. Ruto strikes billions in US. Kenya is also expected to be designated as a non-NATO ally during visit. This is all the flag is reading there. Diplomacy, bag of goodies. President William Ruto and his US host Joe Biden yesterday announced a raft of multi-billion shilling new investments deals in Kenya with a focus on security, education and governance. And this is well laid out for you on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation today. And some of the deals also are broken down for you. I read it for you in the Standard. I'll not belabor the points here, but you can grab a copy to get all the gritty details of as well of the deals. This is how you will benefit under the new health plan. The Social Health Authority has revealed the proposed benefit packages that will be covered by the Social Health Insurance Fund as the Ministry of Health transition from the National Health Insurance Fund. According to the proposals, SHIF will cover a standard delivery fee of 10,000 shillings for expectant mothers undergoing normal delivery. For those undergoing a cesarean section, the cover will be at 34,200 shillings for a maximum stay of 3 days. This is all covered on the back page of the Daily Nation today. If I go light out, the tragic end of top mountaineer. This is Sh1tr Kirui. When he set off to climb Mount Everest without a supplemental oxygen in April, he was well aware of the risk he was taking and was confident that he would make it. But this was not to be. You can read the rest of the details on page 2 and 3, defying also what scientists have warned regarding going beyond 6,000 feet above Mount Everest can be very prejudicial for you, and this is what really happened here. You can follow the story inside the Daily Nation today. Also, The Voice is speaking out inside the Daily Nation. You can get the Pull Out magazine visit, that is a US visit. The billions America gave Ruto, President Biden designate Kenya major non-NATO allies. America goodies begin to land. What the US will give Kenya. America donating to Kenya 16 US manufactured helicopters. Kenya to receive 150 armored security vehicles. And also reducing poverty and malnutrition, 1.99 billion shillings. Independent civil society, 173.10 billion shillings. Fight against corruption, 564.18 million shillings. Implementation of whistleblower protection law, 39.8 million shillings. Modernization of Kenya Police Service, 929.25 million shillings. Improvement of Kenya Prison Service, 292.05 million shillings. Counter-terrorism measures, 650.7 million shillings. Building the Kenya criminal justice system, 2.48 billion shillings. Anti-malaria campaigns, 4.44 billion shillings. And support for Kenyan students, scientists, researchers, and engineers, 66.37 million shillings. All that tucked away inside today's Star. Also, questions raised over opposition leaders in Ruto's historic US tours. US tour, I should say. The presence of some opposition leaders in President William Ruto's US tour has triggered a storm in ODM even as Azimio moves to quell the disquiet. National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, his Senate counterpart Stewart Mazayo, and Governor Gladys Wanga and Wavinya Ndeti were among opposition leaders in Ruto's entourage. And you have a story on page 6 of the Star this morning. Also remember, Siasa magazine comes in handy for you. The Gachagua goes silent, signaling fresh discord in Kenya Kwanza. And tragedy on Mount Everest. You all know about now Ch1tr Kirui, a story of courage and determination, a tragic death of Ch1tr Kirui while on a mission to climb Mount Everest serves as a poignant reminder of extreme challenges and dangers faced by mountaineers. The fact that he even did it without a supplemental oxygen highlights his determination, courage, and relentless pursuit of a formidable goal despite the risks. You can follow the story inside the Star this morning. Let's pull the People Daily up to see what is holding for us. Kenya's prize for hate mission. This is what is the splash today. Diplomacy. US President Joe Biden designates Nairobi as key non-NATO ally in Africa and unlocks dollars of security, education, and the digital economy during Ruto visit to the White House. You have a story on page 4 and 14 of the People Daily this morning. And Biden goodies, they're all broken down for you as well. I won't read them again for you. At least you have a clue. You can grab a copy for all the details if this really tickles your fancy. On the sidebar, tragic end for Kenyan climber at Mount Everest also is on the front page of the People Daily. Mombasa bans Mogoka for making youth imbeciles. And I want to come up with a book hangover. That is on page 22 of the People Daily this morning. Lost children ask, are you my family? That is on page 7. But I'm inclined to wonder, there's a book hangover and how you can deal with it. I've never known there's a book hangover. But Haman Manyora, yeah, you in the academicians, you can tell them a book hangover.
I think it's people who imbibe beverages, intoxicants, who want to find something to say against those who belong to the academy and to scholarship. That you are also nursing a book hangover. Such that you do not vacate that space. You know, when you've taken alcohol, especially to certain extreme extents, the impact lasts on. The effects go on and on and on. What Peter Abrahams calls the horrors. If you read Mind Boy, you find the characters there suffering from the horrors of the previous night. So they are trying to imply that even those who are reading are suffering from the horrors, which is horrendous.
But maybe you can also give it a positive spin.
You see, we are supposed to keep referencing. Like when I hear these things about NATO, I'm not very sure what they mean. because referencing from interaction with the knowledge, NATO was basically, or is basically,
all right,
a militaristic.
We will come to that.
You are trying to forestall.
Yeah, forestalling because now it's taken now to the meat of the discussion today, which we'll do it later. I just asked about the book Hangover. It was just a cursory statement, Barack.
Now you should be prefacing it.
We're still on...
prefacing the question with cursory.
All right. This is the People Daily. I'm very down with the dailies here. Taifa Leo, Minofu ya America. This is what is on the front page of Taifa Leo today. Ziara ya Ruto, America. Imezolea Kenya uwekezaji. Right? Na ufadhili wa mabilioni kupitia mipango na miradi tofauti. That is what Taifa Leo is holding for us this morning. And also it's broken down for you how the deals have come through for the country. Business Daily. Kenyan investors to partly fund 472 billion shillings US-backed toll road. Mombasa Nairobi Expressway deal signed. New roads in Raveling, China builds SGR. Local private investors will be given a chance to participate in the financing of $3.6 billion expressway from Mombasa to Nairobi after the Kenya National Highway Authority and the US-based private equity Everest Capital LLC signed a deal to start the construction of a toll road. You have a story on page 2 of the People Daily. And manufacturers push for cheaper night power benefiting factories. Manufacturers have asked the government to remove the condition for using discounted electricity tariffs at night, a request that is said to have rattled senior officials at the Energy Ministry. New pay platform for Kenyan workers in Saudi Arabia. Newly recruited domestic workers, including Kenyans in Saudi Arabia, will, from July, get salaries through registered banks and digital channels in reforms aimed at ensuring employees are paid on time and as per terms in their employment contracts. Safaricom Ethiopia eyes 46 billion shillings loan from IFC. All that also tucked away in today's publication of the Business Daily. Let's cross over now to Uganda, where there is a fresh fight erupting over new budget allocations. That is what we have on the front page of today's publication, 72 trillion shillings pie. That is, the executive is reportedly unhappy that the legislators used their powers to remove or to move around allocations to certain votes and endorse the budget without the knowledge of Ministry of Finance technocrats. You have a story on page 4 and 5 of today's publication. How government secured release of Ugandans from Myanmar. They're back home, and you can read the rest of the details on page 3 of the Daily Monitor. Nawangwe says probe against among exam will still go on, and you can read all that on page 8 of the publication. Get a scoop inside the scoop today. What's the craze with attempting Guinness World Record? A question there, all inside the Daily Monitor. You have the answers. And the Citizen in Tanzania. Habari yenyu. This is what we have on the front page of the Citizen today. What Biden-Ruto meeting in US means for Africa. And we can see political analysts have voiced mixed views on what the meeting between US President Joe Biden and his Kenyan counterpart, Dr. William Ruto, means for Africa. Their meeting wasn't in the interest of the EAC, AU, or Kenya. Rather, it intends to serve the best interest of the US as far as sustainable development is concerned. And this is what Paul Loisulule from University of Dodoma is saying. You can read all the rest of the details inside the publication. If you're waking up in Tanzania, how tender controversies sparked Zanzibar fuel crisis. The Zanzibar Utility and Regulatory Authority initially attributed the shortage to delayed imports. However, an investigation has uncovered a deeper issue, a flawed tendering process that left oil marketing companies in dire straits. You have a story on page 8 of the Citizen today. AFCON 2027 pushes sports budget up by 705%. That is on page 20 of the publication today. And you can grab a copy for the rest of the details. Maramu would say, good morning, Rwanda. This is what you're waking up to on the front page of the New Times. Are mobile phone scammers getting more sophisticated? Seems this is what they're suffering from. And Central Bank Governor says they're working with telecoms and law enforcement to deal with the issue. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. Kagame inaugurates new 22 billion shillings of Rwandan francs Radiant Insurance building here was unveiled yesterday. And you can see him here. And Mark Rugenera, the managing director of Radiant Insurance, inaugurating the newly constructed Radiant Insurance building in Kigali on Thursday. The 22 billion shillings Rwandan franc, 22 billion Rwandan francs, not shillings, new facility will host the company's headquarters, World Bank and International Finance Corporation offices, commercial banks offices, and other institutions, all that inside Rwanda. 57-year-old teacher seeks parliamentary seat in third attempt, and our investment commitments now exceed $11 billion, IFC's Pimenta says. And you have a story on page 3 of the publication today. The East Africa this week, China back as Kenya, Uganda, Sh1tr financier. CS Kipchumba Murkomen says they have secured commitment from the Exim Bank. The partners want more loans to take the line to DRC, and 6 billion shillings, the estimated amount each state needs for the extension of the line in their territories. And you can see a train carries containerized cargo passing from the port of Mombasa on October 1st, 2023. Kenya and Uganda have mobilized Rwanda, South Sudan, and DRC to source funding to extend the standard gauge railway to the Great Lakes region. That is the East African. All right, this is the editorial cartoons as done by Victor today inside the Daily Nation. Let's do this again. And it's all about Finance Bill 2024. We're back to the courts as far as Omutata is concerned. And the contentious issue is, first of all, it's not also followed the process propriety as far as procedure is concerned with the Appropriation Act. And this is the bone of contentions right now. And of course, also, Senate has not also been given a handy opportunity to weigh in on the finance bill. And remember, this was one of the catnip issue as well in last year's, or the 2023-2024 financial bill. All right, let's see what GAMS has done for us. It's all about the Hustler Jet and the Hustler's Set, right? The taxes or the cut there being pulled by Kenya, well, it is laden with so much baggage as far as taxes are concerned, piled one on top of the other, and you can see the gun is there. And that is a debate that has been ongoing regarding the 200 million shillings that was spent on this particular travel. But now they're saying, look at the cost-benefit analysis. You spend 200 million shillings, you get 1 trillion shillings. What is the opportunity cost there? That's what you need to consider, as they will argue right now. This is what GAMS has drawn inside the Standard today, and as well also that has been captured by Ozone inside the Star today. Right? The bags of goodies on top, the fuselage of the Hustler Jet, so to speak, as Biden bids him goodbye. And state visit, this is the weight of it, right? It's too heavy on you, state of the taxpayer, and you can see a tongue wagging out of a Kenyan there, eyes bagging out as well, and I don't know what has spilled from him as well. That's how heavy it is, crushing you. That is what Stano has drawn inside the People Daily this morning. All right, let's hear the voices now of Professor Jonah Kindiki as well. Good morning, good to see you.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Right, we just want to hear also from Herman Manyora.
How you about? Long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
You've been missing from...
in action.
Oh, yeah.
Missing in action.
You've been off the grid or off the radar?
Off the grid.
It's actually been off both.
He's been off both. Yeah, but right now it's gotten a signal. I don't know what bush
the
were you
signal
in?
is picking.
Yeah.
You
So
can pick the signal.
We can hear the crackling of, of a signal. You're trying to actually put it back, yeah? Yeah, so good to see you as well. Barack as well as Thank you for joining us this morning.
See you too, and my fellow panelists.
Yes. So we have a lot of issues, but maybe we can begin with the editorial cartoons on a lighter note so that we get it how you can decipher it. If my director may just put it back in full. We begin with what is in the Standard today. Of course, I have to give it preeminence to publication first. Yeah, it's all about national interest. So also it's our interest as well. The hustler jet, the hustler set and the taxes. This has been the debate this week, Barack. And you can see Kenyan there, piles and piles of Ghanaians. This is just depicting that the taxes are getting heavier and heavier. The hustler set. And we can juxtapose that with also the state visit as well. As you can see, Stano has given you there the particular way it is crashing Kenya, state of a tax pair. But they always say, as I've mentioned, you have to take the rough with the smooth. So we have the fuselage of a jet there carrying the goodies back home.
It's seated in a rather strange place. It's supposed to be in the
cockpit
bowels of the jet, but there it is. But the issue about taxes remains very relevant, very pertinent, and various entities and authorities have consistently been voicing their concerns about the taxation. The cost of the hustler jet, on the one hand, is reflective of luxury, a bit of lavish living there, which runs counter to the petition to live and operate within our means. The bottom line, however, must wait for a little while for us to do a proper balancing act and have a look at the balance sheet, what they have spent, or we have spent for that matter, on this state visit and the returns. I don't think we have the balance sheet as yet, and therefore it might be a wee too early to pass very adverse judgment. That said and done, the concern must remain that those who tell us that we must live within our means also must demonstrate that they are living and operating within that which we consider to be our means. For the time being, the overriding feeling is that we are being preached to water, and the preachers are wallowing in wine.
All right, let's see if also Dr. Martin Law has been wallowing in the wine since he's checked in late today. You don't know if there was the hangover we were talking about of books. It could be the hangover of books. He's been imbibing books all night.
Slogging. Well, I'm very sorry that I'm this late, but I've been awake since 2:30, and I was preparing a presentation anyway. But I'm here. I'm glad to be here, and listening to what Baraka is saying, I think we now need to be realistic about our leaders and our politics. What our politicians say and what they do is quite often inconsistent, and perhaps that is the most consistent thing about them. That they promise us heaven and they allow us to be in hell when they are in heaven. So the hustler jet, the opulence and the splurge that we see around President Ruto and generally Kenya Kwanza government is a far cry from what the wheelbarrow that we were presented with.
The carcinogenic one.
Yeah, which some of us on this table helped to push at that point. And it was a simple person's message, hustler's message. That message dissipated. And indeed, it would have, and perhaps some of us were right, that it would not have been correct to imagine that the people who were talking about dynasties and the people who were talking about the poor were themselves actually interested in the poor. So what we have seen, what we will continue to see, is there's the talk and there's the walk, and the two are not in sync, neither are they in tandem, neither are they intended to be. Yeah.
All right. But looking at the 1 trillion shillings deal, the opportunity cost, we had also from the government spokesperson who was sort of way, slighting off those particular criticism on the 200 million shillings spent. Was like, this is just a teeny tiny, amount of money compared to the goodies that will come back. So the 200 million shillings compared with the 1 trillion shillings goodies that now we have in our kitty, we don't know how these are loans, of course, are they grants that we're yet to establish? But Herman Manyura can put it into perspective. Good morning.
Orange Youth Bar, like I said,
again.
glad to be back. Long time no see.
Karibu sana.
As Americans would say now, we are Americans now.
You are Americans.
We are Americans now. We just,
I tell you,
yeah.
it's better
Hey,
than
Ruto.
Yeah.
President Ruto. See,
President
what the cartoons are saying,
Yeah.
they are forcing us into being critical as we look at these issues.
Yes.
Of this, especially the trip. Because we can choose to be simplistic. We can also choose to be unreasonably dismissive. So I think the cartoons, by juxtaposing the jet in the air and the wheelbarrow down there and everything else, is also calling us to be aware of what the Jews were being told in the Bible, the Holy Book, that you wash the outside of the cup, but that the inside is dirty. And it's like, because you cannot deny the fact that if you remove politics, you cannot deny the fact that the country has reaped big from this trip. But I think the cartoons are also calling our attention to the fact that there are other issues, that even as you celebrate all those good things, what are the people in the country feeling? Okay? The guy pushing the wheelbarrow, So it's like you want to shine your shoes with very good shoe polish bought in America, not this one of Kenya. But the shoes are dusty. You have to remove the dust first. Otherwise, the polish won't make any sense on the shoe. So I think the cartoonists are telling the people of this country, you have reaped big from the trip. You continue to reap because the president is still there. But also look at things that could spoil that party in terms of the like finance bill that's quite unreasonable, the ever-increasing burden to the taxpayer, and so on and so forth. But in short, the cartoons are saying, let's be critical, let's not be dismissive, and let's also not be overpraising. Let's not over-celebrate. Just be critical as you look at the whole thing.
Right. I thought you also from the academia, you should be happy because 4 billion shillings is coming your way. So the issues of pension and the statutory deductions as well that has not been remitted to...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You wish to say all the bad things. But when you remove the dust...
This is about conflict of interest. Now that
This is conflict of interest. Let's hear from Jonah.
Yeah, for me, the cartoon is depicting the real situation which is happening in the country right now. But I think people misunderstood the Asala narrative that maybe there will be free goodies that will come along the way, and then maybe the common people will benefit automatically without maybe their involvement in the economy. For the president and his entering, traveling in a jet, and then living a life that maybe did not portray what they were preaching during the time of campaigns, it's a clear demonstration that our economy is just a capitalist economy, and sometimes you can't run away from these things, like having a good life, traveling in a jet, whatever. These are requirements, but whether you say it or you don't say it, it comes automatically. You don't expect a president of any country to visit America in a wheelbarrow, using a matatu or a wheelbarrow. So you have to present yourself to the environment of the people you are visiting, because he is a visitor, and they expect you to have some standards, and those are the standards. But to us, on the other hand, we find a lot of wastage because of our economy and we say they cannot support this. But that's the reality on the ground. And it reminds me, Bitibar, of the book by George Orwell, The Animal Farm. A very allegorical and it's a satirical book, and the knowledge of the animals, the farm animals. And these animals, they wanted to rebel against the farmer. And after the rebellion, they create a free society, democratic society, a very peaceful society. But when this happened, it didn't happen at all. Because some of the things they thought they could do, it is just the same thing like you say, okay, we are hustlers, let's take over the government. Mm-hmm. But when you go into the government, you find all these luxuries. And then you really wonder, how we bring hustlers here, or we remain as dynasties. So those who are claiming to be hustlers, you go in the economy, you become a dynasty, automatically. Even if today you get these hustlers pulling those wheelbarrows, and you take them to that economy, they also become dynasties. It's just dictates what a capitalist state is. It's not a socialist state, whether we want it or not. So for me, it's a pity for us as Kenyans. We should look for, having said that, we should look for ways of helping the poor people to overcome their predicament so that they can come to that stage. And the good is the president is doing. They are not free because I think we are going to pay. And those people are going to pay are those hustlers anyway. Not so much the ones in the jet. Those in the jet, there are very few people. They're just a handful. But the economy is supported by those people. So we need to empower them so that we see how they can also survive in this harsh economy and the heavy taxation and all that. It's quite challenging.
All right.
But I think we overcome with the time.
All right, let's see what really happened yesterday, where US President Joe Biden hosted President William Ruto for dinner at the White House. Before that, the two leaders held bilateral talks before holding a joint press conference, highlighting 6 years of diplomatic ties and launching a new era of technological cooperation between the two nations. Ruto is in the United States for a 4-day state visit, the first by a Kenya leader to the US in more than 2 decades, and the first by an African leader in 15 years. Previous state visits to the US were made by the late President Mwai Kibaki in 2003 and his predecessor, the late President Daniel Arap Moi, in 1980. Ghana's John Kafur was the last African head of state to make a state visit to the US in 2009 when he was hosted by the then President George Bush.
Yes, I can take the dishes for school.
Mr. President, we will also be having the opportunity to discuss the investment opportunities, trade, and hopefully we will be able to persuade the United States to renew the Africa Growth and Opportunities Act that gives Africa the opportunity for access to markets so that we can create more jobs, we can create more wealth, and we can spread prosperity across our continent.
And I see it every day as president, as our two proud democracies continue to draw from the power of the people and the strength of our diversity to write the next chapter in our partnership. Together, the United States and Kenya are working to deliver on the challenges that matter most to our people's lives: health security, economic security, cyber security, and climate security.
Right, we shall continue slicing and dicing that particular, of course, subject of the president tour. But of course, to an unfortunate story still in the US, where a renowned Kenyan mountain climber, Sh1tr Kirui, was found dead as he attempted to reach the top of world's tallest mountain, Everest. The mountaineer was reported missing above 8,000 meters on Mount Everest since Wednesday morning. And as our reporter Vera Mura now tells us, Kirui embarked on a daring quest to summit the world's highest peak without supplemental oxygen.
40-year-old banker and renowned Kenyan mountaineer Sh1tr Kirui died close to Everest summit. Kirui and his 44-year-old Nepalian guide Nawang Shepa went out of contact on Wednesday morning, and a search team was deployed on the 8,849-meter high mountain.
The idea is you get into that zone as fast as possible and get out as fast as possible before your body starts dying.
Kirui's body was spotted between the summit and the Hillary Step. In Kirui's mountaineering career, he garnered achievements such as a summit on Mount Manasul of 8,163 meters without supplementary oxygen in September 2023, becoming the first African to achieve this feat on a peak above 8,000 meters. He also achieved multiple speed climbs on Mount Kilimanjaro, including completing the ascent and descent in just 15 hours. The climber also achieved over 20 ascents of Mount Kenya, setting course record on the 3 main routes, including a remarkable time of 2 hours and 56 minutes on the Sirimon route from Old Moses to Lenana Summit. His ultra marathons include second position in the Ultra Trail in Thailand of 160 kilometers in August 2022. He also participated in the Ultra Trail in Turkey of 121 kilometers in October 2021. Over 330 people have died attempting to reach or return from the summit of Mount Everest. The deaths have been attributed to falls, collapse, exposure, frostbites, or health problems related to the extreme cold conditions on the mountain. However, not all bodies have been located, as it is difficult to embark on such a mission. Many a times bodies are left on the mountain. Mount Everest is Earth's highest mountain and a particularly desirable peak for the mountaineers. This makes it the mountain with the most deaths. However, it does not have the highest death rates. Vera Mora, KTN News, Nairobi.
Back home, the feud that has pitted Siaya Governor James Orengo and his deputy William Odol continues to escalate, and the working relationship now seems to have worsened. Odol claims the county government has incessantly frustrated him, but Governor James Orengo has dismissed the allegations, claiming the DG was working for the national government. KTN's senior political affairs reporter Daniel Karoki has more.
The warring relations and fights in the Siaya County government pitting Governor James Orengo and his deputy William Odol has turned for the worst. The two have not been seeing eye to eye since Odol's impeachment was overturned by the Senate on Thursday. They separately appeared before the Senate Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relation, where Odol made allegation of being threatened. The DG claims that goons are being used to lock him out of his office. Odol also claims that the county government has frustrated him by denying him facilitation fees and allowances.
After unsuccessful impeachment completely blocked me from any county activities, does not delegate to me any duties, has instructed executive members not to deal with me, has completely refused to invite me to cabinet meetings, as was the practice before, continues to withhold all my allowances and benefits, including fueling of my official vehicle, without explanation. For the deputy governor to come here and explain his case? We are seeing people in the US with the president of the US enjoying meals, dining and wining. Members of the opposition with the president of the day. What sin has he done to say that he associates himself with the government of the day?
Oh no, let us see. Oh, let us rein in everybody. Let us rein in everybody. But you cannot rein in when the political atmosphere does not allow you to do that. So I think, Mr. Chairman, this is an issue which we must consider soberly, and we must know that we are not living in a vacuum.
But on his part, Governor Orengo says Odol has been out of office, operating from a different area, and that he has refused to work in hand with him while receiving funding from Kenya Kwanza government.
And I will not interfere, including, occupying his office. I cannot interfere. And finally, on the question of attending cabinet meetings, it is upon him to decide whether he wants to attend. But I can tell you This I want to tell you without fear of contradiction, that he is in a hostile territory. We are all politicians. He is in a hostile territory. He is in a hostile territory. And that's why he has some difficulty functioning within the main headquarters of the county. I offered to give him an alternative office. He refused.
Orengo adds he is regretting appointing Oduol as his running mate in the 2022 gubernatorial race.
Dr. Bru here told me, you're making a big mistake. My own party leader told me, you're making a big mistake. It didn't take 2 months. And the problem was that I as soon as I had been sworn in, that same day, I came to Nairobi to participate in the presidential election petition. And I left him running the county for 2-3 months. And when I went back, I think he was expecting a reversal of role that I would be the deputy.
Oduol survived impeachment in June last year after he faced allegations of gross violation of the constitution and abuse of office following a bitter split with Governor Orengo. The committee seeks to mediate the duo's fallout and is set to have a report on the same. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News, Nairobi.
Well, also, when we focus on academia, it seems also the University of Nairobi's VC and, of course, the management of that university are not seeing eye to eye as well. We're embattled. The University of Nairobi Vice-Chancellor Professor Stephen Kiama has dismissed a directive by the institution's council to send him on compulsory leave. Professor Kiama, who has been sent on leave barely a month after he dismissed a similar directive, argues that he has the right to choose when to take a break from his office duties, whereas his 5-year contract ends in January 2025, compels him not to accumulate more than 90 leave days. It has come to the fore that Professor Kiama has accumulated more than 100 leave days. Lewis Nyaundi has more.
The ongoing leadership wrangles at the University of Nairobi escalated a notch higher a day after the University Council sent Vice-Chancellor Professor Stephen Kiama on compulsory leave for a third time. Professor Kiama, who spoke exclusively to KTN News on Thursday, however, rubbished the directive, terming it malicious and further alleging that no council meeting was convened to ratify the directives by the council.
I have not exited my contract. I have not written to exit my contract because I'm expected to do so if I have to. And I'll have to give a notice. I cannot even exit just like that.
Professor Kiama assumed the position in January 2020 on a 5-year contract, replacing the then VC, Professor Peter Mbithi. According to the contract, he should not exceed 90 accumulated leave days. However, it has emerged that he has accumulated more than 100 days, with his first term set to end in January 2025. But the VC argued that the university allows him to remain a staff of the University of Nairobi as professor after the lapse of his tenure and can utilize his leave days then.
I did provide a leave plan to the chair of council, and I have taken, within this financial year, I have taken 30 leave days myself, okay? So it's not like I have never gone on leave. I already took that leave days. And before this, maybe before we get December, I'll plan when to take leave. You get it? Considering all the other work I have to do. Because there is also expectation. Even you look at all those circulars, the issue you have to consider the exigency of duty.
The details emerged on a day 2 student factions, one in support of the VC and another in support of the council, also weighed in on the controversy of the university leadership. Those in support of the council indicated that the ongoing conflict hurts the university's day-to-day operations.
Professor Stephen Kiama was granted immediate leave on 19th of April 2024, and Professor Ayub Njoroge Gitau, the engineer himself, was elected and given the mandate to act as the acting vice-chancellor. However, these are not been effected because of people running hooliganism and insubordination of the employer.
They called on Kiama to oblige to the council's decision and proceed on leave and give way to Professor Ayub Gitau, who was named acting vice-chancellor after the directive to send Kiama on leave.
Governor's Viva. Yeah.
On the other hand, the faction in support of the VC noted that a section of the council has been out to frustrate the VC and now wants to sabotage Kiama's reform agenda.
For the last 2 months, we have been hitting the headlines of this country on matters, a malicious act of replacing the VC of the University of Nairobi in a manner that is unacceptable both to the society and even to the university fraternity. One, I would like to say that change is inevitable, but power change needs to be orderly and also seamless.
They underscored the need for harmonious working relationship to ensure tranquility in the institution. Despite the push and pull to send him packing, Professor Kiama is determined to secure a second term upon the expiry of his contract in January. The ongoing leadership wrangles at the University of Nairobi now threatens the stability of the institution. Further concerns spanning on the negative effects the wrangles will have on the day-to-day running of the institution. Lewis Nyaundi, KTN News.
All right, and Herman Manyora can tell us more about these intrigues. It seems he's never had any easy tenure since he took office. Yeah,
you know,
or this is conflict of interest since also from
bad,
university. Maybe Professor.
Not even conflict. These are my bosses. I can't say anything. You want them to sack me before my time. But all I can say, and I've told them, this is bad manners. You see, as a teacher, because we are teachers basically, and more than teachers, these are managers. They owe it to the young people, you know, to show them good example, because there must be an inspiration to youth. So how you behave at the helm, if you are the vice chancellor, if you are the chairman of council, you are the very epitome of the whole thing, of what the academia is about. And therefore, I can only say that they have to take into consideration the fact that they are supposed to be the role models for these young people. But so how they behave is really important. Now, I cannot go into who is wrong, who is right, because
but it appears he has been
an
unwanted man.
Not that I really care.
From the beginning.
Yeah? He's supposed to be an analyst. You say
No, I'm not saying I care really. I'm just saying decency. I'm just saying decency demands.
There's a pro bono.
No. Decency demands that a teacher like me
There's a pro bono
cannot join the war between
so
my
afraid.
seniors. That's just common decency.
You are wearing a different hat, but 2-3 quick things. First of all, the journalist who is reporting takes a slanted view. The word noted in journalism is not just to be bandied about that the students noted that those who are against Kiama have been paid. That implies that this is a statement of fact. So they noted. They did not say, they noted. And I keep seeing that all the time. Secondly, and in the interest of full disclosure, I have previously served on the council of the University of Nairobi. And when you look at the statutes, they are very clear about who is in charge of hiring, firing at that level of the Vice-Chancellor. It is the council. And the Vice-Chancellor says rather mischievously that communication about the decisions of the council will be made by the secretary to the council, who is the Vice-Chancellor. But good governance requires that when it is about you, you step aside. And somebody else, as will be designated by the council, will make that communication. And that communication has been made by the chair of the council. If Professor Kiama feels that he has been treated unfairly, there are other ways and means of dealing with the situation without bringing paralysis to the institution, to the entity. And this is the third time, we are observing carefully that he has been sent on leave, and that is part again of his contract and of the statutes that actually the council has the authority to send him on leave if it is deemed necessary. But he has defied all the time. Now they say that if you see the tortoise, I think that saying is from Professor Kindiki's community. If you see a tortoise on the fence, please understand that there's someone who has put that tortoise there. And this tortoise that is called a Kiama has got somebody who is
all right.
putting it there at the bar.
Thank you. Let me just...
I think the bar...
let me just take a short break, please. It is 7 o'clock. We'll circle back with that. Professor Kindiki, let me just take a short break right now. You're watching Uongozi today. When we circle back, of course, we shall be analyzing some of his stories as well that we've highlighted here, beginning with the tour of the president, also what is happening at the University of Nairobi, and also we shall be keenly looking also on the finance bill, just the swings and roundabouts around it, to tease out some of the ticklish issues and why Okiya Mtata is in court as well. We take a short break. You're watching Uongozi today here on Morning Prime.